Carl. Yay! So welcome everybody. Welcome Ali. Welcome Daisy. Welcome Emma, Gail, Lindsay, Suzanne. Hello. Hello everybody. Oh my God, it's all ladies. Where are the guys? Okay, we're gonna have a tea party. we can be terribly mischievous in the absence of all the guys. I love it. Sorry. This is a little girl in me coming out to play. Edward! Oh man, trust you to show up. We thought we were gonna have a girls' tea party. Welcome, Edward. Welcome, Nicola. Hello, Carl. Oh, Ace. Okay, so we got three men in the house. That's it. It's not a girl tea party anymore. Hello, Robin. So today, what was coming up for me? I don't know if you can see the sign behind me. The small print below the great be grateful sign says for the small things, big things, and everything in between. But I was going to spin that a little bit today, because I think for most of us, when we got together from, well, there was that consensus that brought us all together in the first place, which is Blue Sky, for which I am forever grateful, because I made a family, I met fabulous people. I mean, I feel like I have family all across the world. I mean, I had family all across the world before, because my dad is number 15 of 25, and my mom is number 1 of 6, exactly. So take a guess as to any country I want to go to, I'm bound to find some cousin, second cousin, aunt, uncle, you name it. That I don't think there's anywhere I've been where if I chose to, I didn't have to be in a hotel room. I could have stayed with family. The family is that big. So you can imagine weddings are not weddings, they're more like fanfares, right? So I don't digress too much. This platform, when we moved off Blue Sky and we came onto JLSM, it was almost like I had a second family across the world. I was already used to that, but this gave a whole new meaning to having family all over the world. I mean, many of you I have never met, but I feel like I know you better than I know my family members. I feel like you get me better than my nuclear family or extended family get me, right? So, I mean, for that, I will be eternally grateful. So, what was coming up for me was, even though we started somewhere else, our relationship, our journey has morphed from one phase to another. And so for every iteration of whatever the avenue has been, whatever the platform has been, I choose to be grateful, because somehow we've stayed connected. We've carried that relationship from the early stages where we were complete strangers to now where we're pretty much a close-knit family, right? And for a lot of us, the change may not have been the smoothest, may not have been the most exciting, may not have been the most positive, but regardless, I am grateful for every stage and every phase of that journey to date. And I'm sure we're going to morph into something else, because that's why, any organization that is living, that is alive, that is relevant, that is innovative, that stays up to date with the trends and the times, will always morph and keep up with whatever is going on in the outside environment. And sometimes not necessarily for the better, but I believe because of the kind of mindset we have on this platform, it doesn't matter what version of this mix we end up being tomorrow, or 5 years down the line, or 10 years down the line, we're still going to be positive. We're still going to be growing. We're still going to be relevant. We're still going to be influential in each other's lives. We're still going to be cheering each other on. And for that, I'm grateful. So what was coming up for me was, so if you think of like an overarching theme, is be grateful. But I think because a lot of us are going through changes where we're discovering that we may have started at point A, but where we are now is not necessarily point A anymore. We've probably bypassed B and C, and suddenly we're at D. And we're finding or admitting to ourselves that, you know what, I'm more comfortable with D than I was with A. And I'll explain that as I go on. But regardless of where we are, whether we're still at A or whether we're at D or further down the alphabet, we should still be grateful, right? Because our journeys, if you think of life, life has peaks and valleys, life has ups and downs. And it's very easy, or it's easier to be grateful when we're on a high, when we're on the peak, we're on that mountain, where everything's happening like it should, where it's all yes, 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 positive, positive, positive. It's very easy to be grateful. But then the way life happens is, if you think of life always wanting to be in balance, if you end up being on a high, there is a corresponding low somewhere, whether or not we want to admit it to ourselves. There is that corresponding low. And when we're in the valley, if we remind ourselves or choose to have the perspective that there is the corresponding high, then we know we've got something to look forward to, right? But regardless of whether we're on the high or the low, what it boils down to is, one, our perspective of where we are in that point of time or at that point in time. But secondly, the vibrations we're operating under. And one thing that raises our vibration or keeps our vibration positive is gratitude. Another thing that's going to keep our vibration high or positive is faith, belief that we can still get to where it is we want to get to. So for a lot of us, we started with whys. We went on to the blue sky thing. We started this journey for various reasons, whether it was security in our retirement, whether it was because we wanted to leave a legacy for our children, whether it was because we wanted to make a greater impact socially or environmentally, whatever the why was, we wrote certain things down that were going to outlive us. When we started writing down our whys, we said to ourselves, you better make it big. Because if that why doesn't scare you, if it doesn't get butterflies in your stomach, then why are you wasting all this energy chasing that why, right? So for a lot of us, the whys we wrote down when we started, in fact, we pushed ourselves. And I know on various sessions, we said, if you thought you wanted to make, and this is just a pure example, say 10 grand, add another zero to it. Just make it as crazy and as big as you can possibly fathom. Because we thought, go big or go home, right? Let's push ourselves, because we can go as high as we want to. We can make this dream as big as we want to. And so for a lot of us, our whys are so big, so daunting, that it's going to take ourselves believing in ourselves and saying, you know what, I can do it. I'm worth it. I'm on my way there. It may not look like it right now, but I'm still headed to that why. At the end of this journey, whatever phase I'm in, whether I started on Blue Sky or I started on JLSM, or I've suddenly decided, you know what, it's not going to be Amazon anymore, it's going to be Shopify, or it's not going to be Shopify, I'm going to have my own storefront, or it's not going to be my storefront, I'm going to have something else. Whatever that something else is, we're still on that journey to fulfilling that why. And for a lot of us, we're at that stage where we're reviewing and we're refocusing and we're reprioritizing, and we're saying to ourselves, is this the best possible avenue to get me to achieving that why, right? And so for me today, it was almost like, yes, this is where we are. For a lot of us, we're reviewing that process. We're asking ourselves, is this the best that I can do? Is this the best vehicle that's going to get me to achieving that why? And for a lot of us, we're already reinventing that, we're reworking that, we're tweaking that, we're making it better, we're getting better clarity as to what we're about and what makes our hearts sing. But you know what? Throughout all of that process, there are two things that are going to keep our mojo, that are going to keep us moving forward, right? One is gratitude. So whether or not you say, okay, this is where I'm at, and today's a good day, or today's a bad day, or today's a so-so day, it doesn't matter what it is. If you can find something, some reason to be grateful for whatever kind of day you're having, your vibration is going to be up there. It's not going to be down in the dumps. And for as long as we keep our vibration up, the frequency on which we're operating up and upbeat, we will keep moving forward. We're making progress, steady progress towards that goal that we've set for ourselves. Steady progress towards attaining and achieving that why that we've written down on our battle boards or wherever else it is we've written them down. And for some people, We might be going through a real downright nasty day. I mean, like perspective, define it. It might be terribly negative, it might be adversity. And let's face it, as a family, we've gone through stuff individually and collectively. I mean, John keeps talking about how he's made a lot of money, he's lost a lot of money. But guess what? He didn't let the losing of a lot of money keep him down. He got back up again and he's still fighting, right? And fighting in the sense of he's still got goals, he's still pushing himself to be a better husband, to be a better, more present father, to be a more successful entrepreneur. I mean, he's got fingers in different pies, right? And this is somebody who's a connector, who's brought all of us together on this platform. When we look at other members of this family, we've had personal adversity, we've had health challenges, life-threatening challenges. I'm looking at the faces on this call today. I mean, Ego's not here. She has battled and has succeeded and has come out the other side, better for it, stronger for it, more grounded for it. She's a survivor, right? Just like Shannon is, right? For some of us, I mean, I'm looking at Gail. I mean, Gail, you've fallen, you've hurt yourself, you've broken bones, but here you are, still pushing, still thriving, still going. You haven't come to a complete standstill. You've refused to give up on yourself. You're still putting one foot in front of the other every day. Some days it might be baby steps. Some days it might be leaps. Some days you might be skipping right through the day. But regardless, you're still moving, right? For some of us, and I don't know what you're going through, you may have come to a temporary stop, right? But as long as that stop is not a permanent stop, because if you think of a marathon runner, when they're doing the 30K or the 25K or whatever it is, they actually stop to grab the bottle of refreshment from the people on the sidelines. They slow down to take a sip from that bottle, right? They're not still keeping pace. They actually slow down to drink, to make sure they can swallow what it is they're drinking. And when they feel they've had enough, they discard the bottle and then they pick up pace again. But for some of us, we might need to stop to just catch our breaths, breathe in, breathe out, look around, reassess. But as long as that stop is not a permanent stop, we are allowed to have pit stops. If you think of Formula One, they pull in for a refuel, right? When that car is being fueled again, it's not moving. It's literally parked. Sometimes the engine's running, sometimes not, but it's at a stop. And that's why it's called a pit stop. But it's called a pit stop, not a destination, because the driver knows that stop is a temporary situation. It's long enough to get whatever needs to be changed, whatever needs to be refreshed, whatever needs to be refilled, and then they're out again, zooming, and they're back in the race, right? So for a lot of us, I don't know where we are in our individual journeys. You may have had to take a pit stop where you've pulled into the garage, you're getting your fuel pumped, you're getting refueled, you're getting that energy. And sometimes that energy is going back to books we've read, like As a Man Thinketh, like Think and Grow Rich, like Power of Consistency, right? Like 5-second rule, whatever it is. Or maybe it's replays of our sessions on here, that pit stop allows you to catch your breath. And you say to yourself, you know what? I remember Glenn did some session asking this, that, and the other. Let me just go listen to that again. That could be your pit stop. But as soon as you've heard that replay, you've made a few notes, you've refreshed your memory, you're back in the race. As long as that pit stop is not a destination, it's not a permanent stop, it's not you giving up on yourself, it's not you counting yourself out of the race, that's okay. And be grateful for that you have the time and the space to take that time out, to refresh, to refuel, right? So I have this up on my wall and I say to myself every day, Ivié, be grateful for the big things, the small things, and everything in between. And sometimes I turn that on its head. I say for the good things, for the bad things, and the not so good things in between. Because that's what life is about. Life will give you some uber positive stuff. But sometimes it will throw you lemons that are so sour that it will take almost a whole packet of sugar to get that lemonade tasting right. But you know what? Even when it gives me those lemons, I'm grateful for those lemons. Because then I say to myself, you know what? I can make some damn good lemonade out of this. And then I start messing with the recipe in the kitchen. And when that lemonade is ready and I put ice cubes in it, it is so refreshing. And I can have friends over and I can say, come have a glass of lemonade on me. But when the lemons were falling on my head and knocking me in the face, didn't feel so good. But guess what? I still say thank you for the lemons. Because, hey, I haven't had to go to the store to get lemons. And I can make lemonade that afternoon, right? And sometimes the days are not so defined that you know it's a good day or a bad day. It's kind of like a kind of day, where it's not quite upbeat and it's not quite down in the dumps, but you know those kind of icky days where you can't really say it's been totally terrible. You can't really say it's been totally great, but it's one of those I don't know kind of days, right? But I'm still grateful for those days because at the end of those days, I take stock and I say, you know what? Even though I can't say hand on heart, today has been a fabulous day, I can also not say it's been a terrible day. And so I'm grateful for those kind of days. Because if I had every day being completely fabulous and then the next day being uberly terrible, oh my God, I'd be bipolar. I'd be like, oh my God, I'm on a high one day, down in the dumps tomorrow. So I'm grateful for those days that kind of like level out, that are not all bad, not all good, because then it gives me a chance to be like, you know what, okay, maybe that first meeting could have gone better. Maybe that last meeting, okay, it was great. We shared a drink, we cheersed, But in between, it was like, well, maybe nothing noteworthy happened. But I need those kind of days every now and again so that my emotions are not running wild, so that my body is not under constant pressure. I just need some of those days where I'm not chasing deadlines. I need some of those days where maybe I'm not going for a run, but I'm going for a walk. So my heart rate is not like beating, my heart not wanting to jump out of my chest, right? So for me, that's what was coming up for me today, where I'm saying to myself, I'm grateful when I fail. So when I have those moments where I know I haven't done the best that I can do. I mean, so like John, I'm sure now with hindsight, he's probably grateful that he's made a lot of money and he's lost a lot of money because now he can speak to people in both camps. Can you imagine if all he'd known was success? He wouldn't know how to relate to some of us when we're going through the tough times. And that's why when he comes on and he speaks to us, he can say stuff that resonates with everybody in the family because he's been there, done that. He can identify, right? And one big thing that was coming up for me is I don't know where we are individually in our walks of life, but I really want us to think about this. It doesn't matter how you started. It doesn't matter where you are right now. It matters how you end. And if you're in a place where you probably started from nothing, and when I say nothing, I mean, there's some people that, grew up, they had no shoes, they barely had a roof over their heads, they had to, beg, pray, almost steal for the next meal kind of thing. If you came from that kind of background, and here you are, you open the closet and you got more than a pair of shoes for every day of the week, my goodness, you come a long way, right? Where there's food in the pantry, there's food in the fridge, you're not worried about your next meal, you've come a long way. And this is what life is about. For every down in the dumps, there is that corresponding high of the highs. And so if you're having a particularly rough day, know that life has a way of evening things out. And so choose to be grateful, knowing that there is that compensation coming round. There is that better day that is of equal force to the crappy day you're having today, if that's where you are. Just know that just as bad a day as it is, there is a just as good a day that's coming to balance that out. That is the way life works. That's the way of the universe. We talk about tides, the ebbs and the flows. The tide comes in, it's got to go out again. It's a whole circle. It's a cycle of life. So don't think that because you're having, oh my God, a rubbish day, there won't be a good day around the corner. Everything balances out. And if we can keep that perspective of being grateful, regardless of the kind of day we're having, regardless of the phase we're at in our journeys, it will all even out. The second thing, so gratitude is number one. The second thing is the faith. And when I say faith, I mean the frequency on which we operate, the vibrations on which we operate. The number of times I've gone back to Think and Grow Rich, right? Or As a Man Thinketh, I keep going back to those things. Because the first time round, I'm thinking, oh my God, I had so many aha moments. I need reminders. I go back to my notes. I go back to the highlights I've made in the books. And I say, oh my God, it's so good to remember this. And the second I read that again, it's almost like I'm reading it for the first time. I actually feel I'm getting excited on the inside. And I start saying to myself, oh my God, I can do this. I got this. I got the aha moment before. I can have it again. I mean, the first time I did my battle board, I couldn't believe how exciting it was, how my creative juices started flowing, how much energy I had. I was looking forward to achieving those goals. And little did I know that the next time I reviewed it, so you can see there are 2 shades of orange on my papers. So the lighter shade is a more recent version. But I kid you not, when I did the revision, I had just as much creativity, if not more, when I did the revision as when I did the darker pages, which was the first iteration for 2021. And I'm grateful for that. And what did that take? I just went back to the basics. I did a few replays of sessions. I went back to some books that I knew had resonated with me. I read the highlighted portions. And before I knew it, my frequency had upped itself. Suddenly, I mean, when I started, I was thinking, oh my God, am I going to achieve my goals for 2021? It's almost halfway through the year. I was getting like, butterflies in my stomach and palpitations, and I was getting like really anxious. And I'm thinking, oh my God, it's halfway through the year. Am I going to get there? But I thought to myself, you know what? Breathe, girl, breathe. And I just went and I reviewed the battle board. And as I started writing down and reviewing and saying, you know what? Some goals have changed. Because maybe some suppliers, some people, some business partners, some relationships, some associations that I thought were going to help me achieve certain things this year had fallen by the wayside in Q1. I had to review that. But as soon as I reviewed that, I thought, okay, so that may not happen. What's the next best thing that will still get me to where I want to go? Looking at what I have on my radar screen right now. And it's amazing how people I hadn't thought about suddenly popped into my mind and thought, you know what? Person A may not have helped you achieve that, but how about Miss B or Mr. D? They could be alternatives. And suddenly I started getting creative ideas on, okay, maybe that's not the business that's going to get me to where I want to go. How about this? It still makes my heart sing. So suddenly I have another avenue that I can channel my energy down. So my battle board now is looking like, oh my goodness. And in some months, I had like 3 or 4 objectives. In my revision, so my new battle board, I have sometimes 4 or 5 objectives for the month. But the first time I did it, I wasn't quite comfortable with the whole battle board thing. So I didn't quite know how it worked. It was still new. It was, not quite comfortable. I didn't quite get it. So I could only come up with 3 or 4 things for that month. But the second time I did it, the lighter shade paper, it was flowing. And suddenly I'm writing and I'm thinking, where's all this coming from? Right? And that's just because, one, I started from a place of gratitude that, you know what? Fine. Maybe some of the things I had written down for 2021 were not going to happen the way I thought they were going to happen. They were going to involve other people. They were going to involve other resources that I hadn't thought of. But the second version, the lighter pieces of paper, suddenly I'm thinking, oh my God. And I did this, I think, last month. And so I thought to myself, but I've met so-and-so person, and I've met so-and-so person, and they have this skill set, and they do this. And suddenly I started getting ideas on, oh, but hang on, that person can help me get there. Or if I'm not going to do the Amazon thing, then I can do this. And I just found my energy levels rising. And I thought, wow. So first, I started being grateful for the opportunity to actually review my battle board. And I thought, you know what? Thank you for everything I've achieved. Thank you for everything I haven't quite achieved. But you know what? I said to myself, thank you that I still have time to achieve what I've set out to achieve in 2021. And when I started on that plane and I attacked the review of my battle board, suddenly ideas started coming. And for some, halfway through it, I had to take a breather. I had to stop, a pit stop. And I went and I listened to past sessions and I went back to books we reviewed because I knew, somewhere in the back of your mind, you'll get a reminder as to, I've seen it somewhere before, or I've heard it somewhere before, or there's something I can't quite remember how it was said or how it was written. And you find in digging out those words or in replaying those words, your energy levels start rising. So for us today, what I'm basically saying is wherever you are on the journey, whether it's a good day, a bad day, a not so good day, whether it's a positive place, a high, a low, an in between, whatever it is, just be grateful for all of that. Because the fact that we're still breathing, we have an opportunity, we have another chance to do it over. We have another chance to regroup. We can take a pit stop if we need to. And then secondly, that faith in ourselves. Don't give up on yourself because the universe won't give up on you. You're the only one that can count yourself out of the race. Nobody else can. You throw in the towel because the racetrack is still there. The journey of life is still there. Amazon is still there. Shopify is still there. Whatever makes your heart sing still exists. You're the only one that can count yourself out of the game. So whatever it takes to keep your levels even, to keep your positivity high, to keep your frequency functional and above, if you've got to go press rewind on a session, do that. That's your pit stop. If you've got to go back to a book we've read, that's your pit stop. But as long as it's not a destination, as long as you don't give up and count yourself out, there is still a chance. So that was what was coming up from, because in the last few weeks, we've been talking about, reviewing, refocusing, reprioritizing. I know for a lot of us, we're actually asking some key questions as to what am I about? How am I really going to achieve my why? Is this avenue really making my heart sing? And for a lot of us, we're making fundamental changes. But you know what? I am grateful that we have the time and space to do that. Because half the year is still coming. It's not gone yet. We still have time to make a U-turn if we have to, right? But two things I just want us to be conscious about. Never stop being grateful for wherever on the journey you find yourself today, one. Secondly, whatever it takes, if you need a temporary pit stop, if you need to slow down the pace, to catch your breath, to hit rewind, to hit replay, to go back and reread some of those books, to build up your faith again, to build up your reserves, your energy, whatever it takes, do that. Because we still have time. Don't count yourself out. The race is still there. We can still make it. And guess what? As a family, we've given ourselves a challenge. We're leaving no one behind. So if you need somebody to lean on their shoulder, to hold your hand and walk you over that finish line, look around this family, look around this platform. You've got a ready audience right here to hold your hand. There is so much help available. You don't have to do it on your own. We are all here to cheer each other on. Because even though we're doing this as entrepreneurs, we each have our individual races to run. But by being here, the strength that we have on this platform, we are not going to let anyone on here fail. Never. It's not going to happen. Because we've been through too much, we've come too far, we've done too much life together, virtually and otherwise, to let anybody on here down. It's not going to happen. Right. And, you know, and as I say this, I'm thinking of Stuart right now, because I know this week he's been going through surgery. Finally, right? Stuff got real. He had all the pre-op stuff last week and the surgeries of this week, you know. So in our quiet moments, when we do our auto-suggestion, let's just send positive thoughts his way, because we're going to do that trick. The Llama King has got to take us on that trick. We're doing that. Whether we're going to do it virtually or we're going to do it in person, we are doing that llama trick. He's going to come back jumping, dancing, skipping. He's going to be carrying stuff, and he's going to carry Leah. That's one of the things I can see him doing. I mean, I'm visualizing this already. He's going to load those llamas up. He's going to take us through those trails. We've heard too much about those adventures not to experience them in person. So as I say this, I mean, that is one person that's coming to mind. I can see him. He is going to bounce back. He is going to be restored to a better than original state, because that is the kind of thoughts and positive energy that I'm sending his way. We're not leaving anybody behind. So when you look at that why, when you look at your battle board, when you look at your journey, when you look at what it is you set out to do, please don't count yourself out. Be grateful for wherever in the process you're on. And if you need to slow down, if you need to take a pit stop, do whatever it takes, but don't make it a permanent timeout. Don't count yourself out. There is still time to make it happen. And that's what was coming up for me. So at this point, I'm going to zip it now, and I'm going to open it up so that I can hear what you all have to say. I mean, I hope I've made sense. I mean, that's what was coming up for me in the last few weeks that we've been, mulling over stuff. That's what was coming up for me this week. And I just thought, that's what I was going to say today. So yeah, over to you guys. Hi, Gail.
Hi. Everything you've said makes sense. And I've taken a longer than normal pit stop and started again. And then another health thing came up, and I stopped and started again. And I've now, this time, started reviewing everything that I've thought about, that I've done or not done. I am starting to go over some of the videos that we received with Blue Sky, and also with a couple of others that I have. I have to review them because, quite honestly, I never got through everything. And that seems to be an issue with me. I'll start here and I'll get halfway through and something will happen and I'll stop. And then I've forgotten what I learned before. So I'm in the process now of revisiting everything. So, and I have been very down on myself because of all of that. But the last couple of weeks, the things that have been brought up and what you've brought up today, they're all very inspiring and make me feel not so bad about myself, and the fact that I am reviewing and doing things, even if I'm not actually getting the things that I was on, even with some of the stuff that I was learning from Evelyn. I had to put it on hold because I couldn't do anything physically, but I can review, and that's what I'm in the process of doing now. So thank you.
You're welcome. But Gail, let me just tell you, there's something else you need to be grateful for, because you must be shining, you must be emanating something, because Stefan is on here. And that is because of something he's seen in his mom that has caused him to join the JLSM family. So you might think you started and you stopped, and you started and you stopped, and you're not quite where you want to be. But I promise you, all of that stuff you're taking in is having an impact. It's taking effect, and you are having an impact on your immediate environment, where clearly people around you are seeing something in you, are hearing something from you, and you are attracting people onto this platform. So in your quiet, confident way, don't count yourself out. You're making waves. You really are. So whether or not you're starting and stopping and having to review and revisit, you are making waves. And because of you, this family is growing. So thank you, Gail, for being present. Thank you for your wisdom, and thank you for the impact you're having on your immediate community.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Gail. Who else wants to say something? Edward, I think you had your mic open before.
Yes, I did.
Yay.
I this topic is just what the John Lavenia Mastermind is all about for me, because it's shown me different rituals and habits and information and processes that have allowed us to grow and change. When I first came to this information, I'd been familiar with John for a long time, but when I first came to this information, I needed it so bad. And the reason I did is because of the climate that existed in America for the prior year. And you had the COVID scenario, and you had the issues, the political issues, and all that sort of thing. And I was just so caught up in all that I forgot about working on myself. I was trying to work on that, and I lost myself. And what this whole platform did for me is help me establish, a new routine that was all about inner size rather than exercise. It helped me establish a new routine that allowed me to radiate different and to vibrate different, because now I'm expecting, now I'm believing, now I'm receiving. Now I understand that I have to have a ritual in order to make things happen. And see, I've even written a huge reset button that I use. It's can y'all see that? That's my reset button. So what I do is I hit it when I want to change something. When something's not going right, I hit it. And then after I do that, I go into my ritual. Number one, meditate and read. Number two, visualize and affirm. And next is incantation and music. Whatever the music that I like, I get that because that gets my juices going. And then I hop into my DMO. So at that time, I'm vibrating in a way where the folks on the on the phone that I'm talking to, they don't stand a chance. They don't stand a chance. So what we got to understand is that we got the goods, and when I say the goods, not just what we're selling, not just what we're promoting, but the goods we have inside that help us vibrate all over the world, all over, just like you said, everywhere you go. So this is the gratitude thing that you were talking about. It all starts with gratitude. I was listening this morning. It's amazing. I was listening this morning to a fellow by the name of Og Mandino. You guys may have heard of him. He wrote the book, The Greatest Salesman in the World, which I highly recommend. But he was talking about in Cleveland, Ohio, there was this young man who was a bum. He was an alcoholic, and he was, just totally drugged out, and he had lost everything, his family, his children, the whole 9 yards. And he was right in front of a pawn shop, and he was totally unkempt, just nasty, and everything. He was a bum, okay? And he looked inside of the pawn shop, and he saw a pistol. And the pistol was $29. And he was like, that's what I need. So he reached in his pocket. He had three $10 bills. Three. just enough to buy that pistol. And he went inside to get the pistol. And they sold it to him. But at the same time, he found out that there was something more to the life that was promised to him. And he found that out through books, reading, and that sort of thing. Long story short, Og Mandino is an internationally known motivational writer and speaker. He's long, since passed now. But the beauty of it is that person at the pawn shop was him prior to his success. So the gratitude that we've got to have is, think about it. Would you give $1 million for your arms and legs? Would you give 20 million for your sight? He said this today. He said, we're better off than most people in the world. He said, by most people's standards, you're just a multimillionaire. He said, there are people out there who will give 20 years of their life away to live the life you're living right now. That is so real, okay? So gratitude is something that we, have to really, really walk in, because gratitude starts everything, and it's our faith, it's our beliefs, it's everything that we, bless you, it's everything that we are. Our essence is our gratitude. And, you can call it whatever you want and whatever faith you're talking about, but, we just got to make sure we understand that we believe when we receive, and believe when we meditate, pray, whatever the case may be. You got to receive it before you get it in the natural, and then it'll come, So that's what's coming up for me, and that's what I've learned from being in this mastermind. And you're exactly right. We're not going to leave anybody on the side. The growth occurs at different times, different phases for everybody. But reach out anytime, because I'm telling you, it's all about, staying pumped and staying where you need to be. And it's not just pumped, but knowing, you have to have a sense of knowing that this stuff is real. The whole core of everything we've learned in every book is you're either cause or you're effect. And you got to make sure that you keep on getting back on the cause side. And the way you do that is with gratitude. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Edward. Oh my goodness. That is amazing. I love hearing it when you speak, because you clearly, not only do you meditate on this stuff, but you let it sink into your very being and you live it out. So much so that you can, Nicola, you said it so powerful. You are just embodying everything that we're doing on here. And as you were talking, there were two things that struck me. There's something John always says. And John says, if you offered him $1 million or him and his abilities, he will say no to the $1 million and will say yes every time to his abilities, because he believes he can go out tomorrow and make more than $1 million. So why would he take the $1 million that is so limited, knowing that he has what it takes on the inside of him to go out there and be cause and therefore make a lot more than that? This is coming from a man who's made lots of money and lost lots of money, right? And that is his take on that. So that was something that, you reminded me about as you were talking, Edward. The second thing that came to my mind is everybody we've read about. Let's go back to those books. How humble were their beginnings? It doesn't matter who it is you look at. They started from next to nothing. In fact, some of them sub-zero, below ground level. But they just kept at it. They didn't count themselves out. And look at how they ended up. The end of the story was so much bigger and so much better than the beginning. Look at the man you just described, Edward. He wanted to go into that pawn shop. And I'm sure, that pistol, that he was going to get wasn't just to look at it and maybe sell it to somebody else for, 40 quid? No. He was thinking, you know what? That's what I need, because I'm going to go like that and boom, end of, right? That's what he was thinking in that moment. But look at how his story ends. He ends up impacting how many lives? And he's gone. Long after he's gone, we're still talking about him. That is the kind of change. That is the kind of cause we can be. So please never, ever count yourself out of the race. It doesn't matter what kind of day you're having. It doesn't matter what phase in the journey you're on. Don't give up on yourself. Don't count yourself out. There is still so much going for you. I mean, like Edward said, there are people who will happily trade places with us to have the kind of lives that we have. So thank you so, so much, Edward. I mean, that was just amazing. So those are the two things that came up for me. One, what John always says about he would rather have his abilities and go out and make however much money he wants to make than take $1 million. And then just to think of the stories of all the people we've read about, how they started, how they ended up, chalk and cheese, right? So thank you. Thank you so, so much, Edward. Ali, you've got your hand up. You're next.
Hi, yeah, fabulous, Edward and Ivié. Thank you for everything, and Gail for your share as well. I've just well, gratitude, absolutely essential, absolutely essential. And I think also the not judging where you are from what you see around you. If you've got your goal, just knowing that you are on your journey to your goal and not taking what's around you in the present as being where you're ending up. You're not, you're on that journey. And that's always for me an important reminder. And I think sorry, Mandy, you've had this now your third time. But I've obviously been reading these books and with this wonderful group, and so much I feel has changed, but it hasn't actually, I've not had any kind of practical testing out of what I've learned, because I've just been in front of a computer all the time and doing the business. And then I had a circumstance this last week where I was asked to do something, and it was the first time that I've been asked to do something since before lockdown and before all of this. And I can't tell you the difference I approached it all. It was just insane. It was so different, and it wasn't anything conscious in me. It was just, I was different, and my whole mentality was different. And I would have been unsure. I probably would have said no to the opportunity, but I just said yes, and I just felt so confident and just didn't worry about it in one moment. I didn't feel unself-confident. And this is all what we've been doing over the last year and a half that has just done that for me. And I'm just so grateful. It was so wonderful to have it tested out, and that, yes, it works. Yeah. So thank you
so much, Ali. It's amazing how many of us think that we haven't grown and we haven't moved and we're not making progress despite all the time that we spend on this platform. But I can assure you, just like you've just found out, Ali, when the opportunity presents itself, there is a version of you that will step out, that will surprise you, pleasantly surprise you, and you will be like, oh my goodness, this stuff has worked. Even though I haven't had a chance to try it out, a different version of me is showing up. It does work. It does work. There is a symbiotic relationship. There is an osmosis, that there's a process that's happening just by being present and soaking up all of this stuff. The human body, the soul, the body, the spirit, our minds, it's a complex interaction of systems. I mean, we think we sit here, oh, I'm just dialing into, the general session, or I'm on, metaphors for success, or I'm on, life and business tools with Adrian, or I'm on book study. And we think, nothing's happening on the inside. Forget that thought, delete that thought. Every time you dial in, your subconscious is soaking stuff up. It is sinking in. And when the moment presents itself, you will surprise yourself what you will come out with. And that is just because you have chosen to surround yourself with like-minded people. You're building your inner person, that inner version of you up, so that when you show up powerful, you show up confident. And I'm just so glad, Ali, that you've seen that example for yourself. So that is one thing to be grateful for. Another thing to be grateful for. That is something to write in your journal today and say, you know what? It's happened once, it will happen again. And will happen again. And each time it's going to be bigger and it's going to be better. So just keep showing up. Don't count yourself out. You are making an impact. A change is happening. I mean, it's like when you plant a seed, for the first few weeks, you don't see anything. But do you think underneath that soil, stuff isn't happening? Stuff is happening. The seed just doesn't suddenly just sprout and become, this little green shoot. Oh no, stuff is happening in that soil. Dark and damp and whatever else it is down there, something's happening. But when the timing, when everything is aligned and is just right, that seed shoots up and it becomes some green seedling. So please, nobody doubts that being on these calls, being part of this family, being on this platform is not having an effect. Something is happening on the inside. And when you start talking to people, they will be the ones telling you, what on earth is going on with you, girl? Where have you been? What are you drinking? Stuff is happening. So just hang in there. When the opportunity presents itself, you will be pleasantly surprised. And Ali, this is just the beginning. And I'm so excited for what more is in store for you. So excited. Edward, I see you got your hand up again. So yeah, over to you.
I just wanted to let everybody know about gratitude one more time. One more time. Gratitude today is more special than any other day of the year. The reason being is because it's 6/22/2021. I met this young lady in 81, 82, and we tied the knot in 85 on 6/22. So I have gratitude for 36 years of marriage. And then fruition, we have 2 daughters, we have 4 grandbabies, and God is good. So just wanted to share that with you guys.
Happy anniversary.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary, Edward. Oh, how brilliant is that? Thank you so much for sharing that, Edward. That was amazing. I don't see any other hands up. Does anybody want to say anything? Yeah, you're getting lots of shout outs, Edward, in the chat. Happy anniversary. Does anybody else want to say something? Okay, while we're thinking and not quite sure, Wayne is with us later on tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Metaphors for Success. So please, if you are awake and around, dial in for that, because he always has some brilliant stories. I don't know how he takes nature and takes it skiing down some ice or snow trail and just equates that with some life lesson. He's amazing. So if you can, let's dial into that. That's just another session that you'll be surprised. Your subconscious will soak stuff up. And when you least expect it, you will be talking some stuff and people will be like, how'd you know that? And what are you going on about? But it will be good stuff and you will be impacting lives around you. So thank you so much, everyone. I don't see any hands on up. And so I'm happy to give you 5 minutes back. John, your mic is open.
I just want to say I love this group and I love you, Ivié.
Oh,
awesome.
Thank you, John. Profound. We love you too.
So profound. Wow, 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 wow. All right, I'm done. Thank you.
We love you too. Thank you, John. Well, cheers, everybody. And we will see you either later on Metaphors for Success or tomorrow on the general session. And if you can, just spare a moment and send positive vibes and good thoughts Stuart's way, because he's had surgery this week and he will be recovering. So let's, just send all the stuff we can send his way so that he recovers and we get to do that llama trek. The Llama King has to be back on form. Let's do a JLSM llama trip, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, he had surgery yesterday and today.
And today, yes. Yeah. Yes, he had surgery yesterday and today, yeah. So if you can spare a thought, just send positive thoughts his way, please. Thank you so much, family. Have a great day.
Bye.
Bye.